Yes, welcome back to this wonderful program. We have gone through a discussion which we believe it should not leave Uganda at where we are. It should take us to the next level in terms of improving our economic well-being. Professor and our dear guest, Mr. Paul, we are still going on with how best this Parish model implementation strategy can be a realized program to make you all Ugandans happy. I've landed on the objectives that have been set for this program. Allow me, dear viewers and guests, to look at these objectives, and we then draw a perspective to what extent are we going to achieve these objectives so that the government is happy and the citizens are so happy with such a program, no longer to be regarded as either a political program or a program for the few, but a program to change the livelihoods of the people. Number one, we realize that this Parish model implementation strategy, as designed by the Ministry of Finance, it is stated it intends to provide incentives and support to small farmers, smallholder farmers, to use their land more productively to boost household income. Number two, to strengthen coordination, monitoring, and reporting of government programs. Number three objective is to promote local economic development by guiding and supporting beneficiaries at village level on economic activities to undertake through extension services. Dear viewers, another objective, which is D, the program intends to increase community citizen participation in development, planning, monitoring, and implementation, and socio-economic activities. E, to promote mindset, which Professor was talking about, mindset change in the community. F, to establish common user equipments and infrastructure for production and value addition. G, sustainable managing the environment and natural resources and enforce compliance by local leadership. The final one, scale up innovation extension models, such as nucleus farmers. Dear viewers, we again come to this point of conclusion. How best, either out of these round 7 objectives, if at all we achieved even 4, Professor, tonight could be very happy. Please, back to you. We can look at how best we can achieve this. You have 7 minutes, and my co-comrade, Mr. Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much. And once again, thank you, viewers. Each program normally has implementation modalities. And of course, there are objectives to be achieved. The objectives are good, as we have already seen. And the issue which comes out is local economic development. This is what really this model is about. And we said the reason was they want to bridge the gap between macro economy and micro economy. That macro, which is the national development, and then the micro, the household or family development, as we know it. Now, what do you need to do in order to achieve these objectives, or how will you achieve these objectives, or how shall we know that these objectives have been achieved? Is something very, very simple. It should be out of the 39% of the population which is now outside the monetary economy, people who do not touch money at all in the whole year, is 4 out of every 10 in Uganda. So in Uganda, we are 45 million, so it is approximately 5 approximately 5 million.
They don't touch money.
Yeah, don't touch money. Approximately 5 million.
Money is not in their hands.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God.
The whole year. The whole year. You do not touch money now. The achievement of this program really will be measured by the proportion of the subsistence population that at the end of the implementation period are still non-monetized or are not part and parcel of the money economy or engaging in economic activity. Now, the local economic development, which we were talking about, you know, local economic development was a 6th objective of decentralization. Decentralization its purpose was to ensure that we can demystify development from the center to the local level. And they forgot, when you look at the objectives of decentralization, it was talking about administration, politics, judicial services, and so on. Yes. They did not very much focus on the economy. So when we came in the JAD, I think JAD of 2004, which was the joint review of decentralization, we added the sixth objective, which was local economic development, to ensure that we can have productive competitiveness and income, which again formed the basis for remember the National Development Plan of 1997, which ended also in 2004, and then we came with the National Development Plan, which started around 2007, and then we began exactly at 2010, 11, 14, 15, 1. Now, what are these objectives going to achieve? Two things. One, people need to do the right thing.
People need to do the right thing.
But if you're a household, a member of a household and you're head of household, wake up at 7, start from Kanungu up to Arua, go to GA, in Labuoru, in Karamoja, Amudad, Bulisa, Romero in Busia. Do you know what people are doing at 7 o'clock to 8 on pool table?
Doing the right thing.
And they are saying government to Yambe. They are poor because the government should help them. How can the government help you? You're head of household, waking up and you're on the bar.
Mindset.
That's the problem of mindset change. We need people to know that this is their household, they need to fend for it, children have to go to school, you must pay school fees, your household needs food. There is something which you must do as households. And what are these? Engage in economic activity. Yes. 2, have a target. Make sure that by the end of
engage in economic activity.
Everybody must engage in economic activity.
Yes, sir.
That's what success is about. Engage in economic activity.
Don't wait until you are saying government help us. Yes, do something and the government also comes to help you.
If you go to Bangkok, arrive in Bangkok at 2 o'clock for a meeting, do you know within 30 minutes, everybody has taken your measurements?
Yes.
And these are homes?
Yes.
They are functional homes.
That's Bangkok.
That's Bangkok in Thailand.
Oh, that's good.
Let's change our homes, apart from mindset change, make sure our homes are functional homes. Because remember, a home is also consumptive, but also is also an expenditure center. It is both. So why are you treating a home? It has children who get sick, they need clothing, they need food. So why can't the home also be a production center? Why do you want to turn the home only as a consumptive function only? So in Bangkok, Thailand, they changed that. In China, Thailand, Vietnam. So all those homes now are functional homes. And this is what mindset change is about. Production, and then government can come in now. How does government come in? Because when we produce, for example, maize, I want to give an example to government. Maize, we harvested maize. I'm a farmer as well, of some middle level. So we harvested a lot of beans, for example, this year. We had very good rains, yes. And we were not using irrigation, of course, but the marketing now became a challenge. We sold now the beans at 1,200. Maize at one point was 300 a kilo. Now, what are you going to tell these farmers who are going to produce maize and they are told that the kilo is 300 shillings? That the kilo of beans is 1,200, which means you will not be able to get the amount of money where your returns will not have to balance with the cost. Will not balance with the cost. So government needs now to come in. Now what happens in Bangkok, Singapore, South Korea, Thailand, China, is that government now establishes EPZs, these export processing zones. Then it collects, and this is where cooperatives come in handy. Cooperatives.
The concept of
cooperatives is also there in this parish development model. Cooperatives are there. There is an assumption that cooperatives will be revived, and then what happens in these countries, the government collects, and they have export processing zones. So when these women produce 2 shirts, 2 dresses of women, there's approximately 10,000 families doing that. So now you have 20,000 shirts or 20,000 dresses. So government collects them in one place, which is an EPZ, export processing zone. Now, because the production cost was small, almost not there, because the mother was using her own daughters at home. Electricity is the same electricity in the sitting room or in the backyard, which is the same electricity that the house is using. Do you see how they are saving? Yes. So the production cost is very minimal.
Production cost.
Is very, they make it very, very minimal. Because remember, they are using a functional home. Yes. So in that case, and the government now helps in marketing, why should they not succeed?
Thank you.
But here, the challenge is going to be marketing.
Marketing.
I know people will produce. Ugandans are not sure to be producing because they are rational beings. If you tell me you are going to Professor, a kilo of maize is going to be 2,000 shillings. What would I be doing in Kampala? If you told me that
2,000
shillings. If you go cultivate maize, a kilogram of maize will be 2,000. Only 2,000. I'm not talking about 5,000. Yes. Only 2,000. What would I be doing in Kampala here? I would go, even if I don't have land, I would hire. People are rational beings. Ugandans are very, very intelligent.
100 kilograms, that is 200,000.
If I have now 1 ton,
1 ton,
how much? What would I be doing?
Then you are earning 20. You are earning 20
million. Everybody will go. Marketing. If marketing is there on production, you don't need to put in any incentive. I'm telling you. Apart from the herbicides, pesticides, and so on, you don't need. So government needs to work. Actually, not on production. Production is a private motive.
Yeah, it's
a private motive incentive.
Yes.
It's a private motive incentive. It should work on marketing infrastructure. And once you work on marketing infrastructure, there are, of course, the issues of storage will come in, but they will also talk about it. Aflatoxins. That's why Kenya was not buying our maize. Kenya was buying maize from Malawi. Can you imagine? Because of very poor storage and the aflatoxins here. So if you can work on storage, work on marketing, production will work out by itself. I'm telling you. Production just will come automatically.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Professor. Those who don't know Professor, he is the executive director of the Lev Consult, and he has helped to modify in an easy and simple way how to eradicate poverty. And across the globe, 147 countries have benefited from his knowledge. And we are also very happy that the area that he brings to us in this discussion is an area of expertise of where he holds a PhD of poverty eradication. Professor, thank you for energizing Ugandans, and it gives them hope that we can still move ahead. With that knowledge, please, dear viewers, don't hide it under your bed, under your cupboards, under your pillow. Let us move our heads up, share it, implement it. We can do better. The change of a mindset is vital if you are to develop. If you think that you'll be poor, you'll always be poor. If you think you can be rich, you can do an activity that can lift you from earning nothing. You said something which left me completely, wishing that how I pray that the other 5% can always have. When you don't have money in your pocket, Professor, is very dangerous. Thank you so much. And we are also again privileged, as we are toward the conclusion of our program, to have Mr. Paul Kawanguzi. Paul Kawanguzi has been doing a great work in the previous years, drafting and preparing policy documents, ministerial policy documents, which are responding to the government under the Office of the Lead Opposition. And this always means the alternative. What else can we do? And as we welcome him back to share his knowledge and experience, one point I make, I realized that in this parish model, in all being said, and as I had done the research before, conducted the research related with agricultural extension services, as a country, and as one of the policy that I had ever shared with my brother, Mr. Paul Kawanguzi, we've not had the willingness of either the banking sector, neither the government, to adopt a policy recommendation of agricultural insurance. Yet, most of our farmers fear to participate in agricultural productivity because of the natural hazards. And to you again, Mr. Paul, you can take us through how to realize.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Professor. But taking it directly to agriculture, our biggest problem is the allocation, the budget allocation to the agriculture sector. You know, we have the Mopoto declaration, which said we need to have at least 12% of our total budget being allocated to agriculture. But this is not being implemented. If you look at the total budget allocation of this country to agriculture, it's actually very low. No, we're not here actually to criticize government and tell them what they should do or what they shouldn't have done. But the issue is we need to increase our resource allocation when it comes to what? To agriculture. For as long as we say it is the backbone of this country, the backbone of our economy, for as long as we say it is employing 76%, then why can't we invest there? Where are priorities? Are we getting them right? By the way, even the tourism that we're talking about, very little money is actually allocated there. Yet we are getting a lot of money from there. So when you look at the budget, the way it is formulated, and look at our priorities, it is actually the reverse. You're having agriculture where you're having many people, but are getting too little. And in the areas where you see low levels of production, a lot of money is there. So that's where the problem starts from. But going forward, you asked, how can we achieve these objectives? Of course, like I said, the model is so good, it's so nice. One, it brings services closer to the people. Number two, the local person finally shares of the national cake in one way or the other. Because you're talking about the national cake. So the national cake is the money in the consolidated what? Fund now. The money that we have brought together. So you are saying now, how does the local person now benefit? How can he or she get a share? So one way of having a share, but in a different way, is by making sure that we take it back now through the parish development what? Parish development model. Now, my concern here is, have we brought the different stakeholders on board? For example, we need to know the stakeholders in the parishes. The church leaders, very important.
The church leaders.
Yes, church leaders. What is the role of the chairperson? You'll see one per village.
Religious leaders.
Religious leaders.
There's also mosque. Are
you getting the point? We need to assess and ask, so who are what opinion leaders in this place? So we need to bring them on board. But most importantly, government must be deliberate. I want to emphasize it. It must be deliberate in fighting corruption. Professor, I am here. We're on this program today. It is an individual program. You realize that one of the challenges with this program after a few years will be corruption. You have a parish chief who is going to be managing 17 million shillings. 17. Now, out of the 17, you realize that because we have said and tricked ourselves that we go and mobilize people to form circles and producing groups, it means we can even induce them. Professor, tugende tukola akantu tujafuna yakasente. I think you are getting the whole thing. This is what is going to happen at the end of the day. So we are not, because we said if this is to succeed, let's go for people who are already in production. But now here is government is telling people, please go and make this. Actually, in our area, they always have a common saying that Museveni said, Obina. So this system of saying, let's go make circles for purposes of getting this money is wrong. We should be funding people that are already there on what? On ground, doing something. Otherwise, we might be having quack circles, quack organizations. I think you're getting the whole thing. So at the end of the day, we might be giving money to wrong persons. So we must be deliberate in giving money to the rightful what? Persons. We say we are giving you 10 million shillings, so far you vote 2, but you are giving people who are really in production. My area, for example, is an area that has very hardworking women. They engage in agriculture. You only need maybe, if it's an issue, maybe bringing them together. But you're having a situation. You might be having people who have the art and knowledge of forming these circles, but yet they're not in what? Production. You'll have a chairperson who has never produced anything, but is the chairperson of the circle. We'll even go and appoint his family members. They'll go and make sure they get some money, they give the parish chief to award them the what? To give them this money. So government must be deliberate in fighting corruption. I want to lastly emphasize that government must extend the necessary services. Which services are actually going to precipitate this kind of what? Development. Like I said, we cannot have development when we don't have power, when we don't have water, when our roads are what? Our roads are poor. We need to be deliberate in having this. If we do this, it's just going to be automatic. The development is going to what? To take a course. You see people producing, you see markets everywhere. Once you have power, that means it is easier now to have an evening market. It will be easier, for example, for people to come and sleep in that place, for people to come to produce. If it is tailoring, somebody will be in position even to use power to undertake tailoring. I think you are getting the whole thing. So, in my opinion, government has to be very deliberate in this. But like I hinted earlier, you look, for example, at our levels of connection of power, very low. You're having power, even the cost itself, the cost is quite high. So that's why I'm saying, if you want people to develop, let's be deliberate, like we are deliberate in matters of security. You know, government is very deliberate when it comes to security. Yes. They'll say we don't want A, we don't want B, and we don't want it. Okay. So that's my level of submission. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you so much once again, Mr. Paul KAWANGUZI, our expert in political and economic analysis, policy analysis, and also Professor Augustine NUWAGABA. We are blessed to have you in this program. It has been wonderful. Dear viewers, as we come to the closure of this program, I bring this to our final conclusion, that we need to consider what has inspired more, that can inspire someone outside there. We must have a mindset change. A mindset change. You don't even either, rush it. Mindset change. So equally, it should be deliberate that there is mindset change. I will also point out the most desired section of Ugandans who occupy a bigger percentage of our population, that is the youth, of around 79%. And bringing this parish model to the realization of where Uganda must go in our next, whether 5 or 4 years, in improving our economy, I believe it should be deliberate to bring closer the kind of teachings, the kind of training, and the mindset change training sessions, of which I believe even as we've been given an opportunity to go through such program, we're already dealing with mindset change. Our fellow Ugandans, especially the young generation, which is going and targeting to go abroad for export labor, if the government, in the modification of this program, deliberately, not only looking at the parish, and as it looks at the parish, we look at how best can we have the new skills in practice, not only in theory, the skills impartation. Our graduates, having a degree of social sciences, cannot buy you from having a machine, a tailoring machine, where you can produce how many of these shirts, so that I can no longer go to buy from Taiwan, and I can be able to buy from our fellow graduates. Having a degree of Bachelor's of Arts that cannot buy you or deter you from getting a skill which can capture the attention of the market. Dear viewers, we believe if we take into consideration and implementation the citizens, our fellow countrymen and women, and the government, especially those who are key stakeholders, and we call upon the government with adoption of this strategy, let's involve other key stakeholders, including the religious leaders, who are very key and central in, number one, in helping us in mindset change, and number two, in inculcating the spirit of honesty to our people. Corruption is not only going to be fought by the government. Corruption, it should be a corporate responsibility where the key stakeholders involved, our young generation who are going through school, through our religious institutions, and deliberately the government to ensure enforcement and dealing with those who are misusing government funds with punitive measures. We hope by doing so, Uganda, in the near coming future, we will achieve a middle income status, but with a zeal and a determination to make it. And I believe we shall make it. Thank you so much. Until next time when we meet again in another talk show of where our great people and others will be joining us will be bringing in insightful teaching session and sharing information with the public and with our fellow countrymen and women. God bless you until we meet again.